I am sitting in my corner office CEO nameplate gleaming under fluorescent lights, watching my phone buzz with the 47th missed call from Mom today. 9 years ago, I was 17, standing on our Houston doorstep with one suitcase and $47. My mother had smirked, predicting I would return begging within a month. My father slammed that door so hard the frame shook. They were wrong about everything except one thing: someone would eventually be begging. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to know where you are watching from. Drop a comment below and hit that like button if you have ever felt abandoned by the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally. Subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends, because trust me, you will not see this coming. Growing up in our middle-class Houston neighborhood, I always felt like the square peg trying to fit into my family's round hole. My father Richard worked as a mechanical engineer, approaching parenting with the same rigid precision he used for blueprints. My mother Patricia had given up her nursing career to become the perfect housewife, cold and distant, always deferring to my father's judgment. My younger brother Marcus, 15 at the time, learned early to keep his head down and follow every rule. I was different. Creative, independent, questioning everything. While Marcus earned straight A grades and played varsity baseball, I spent my time writing poetry, experimenting with photography, and dreaming of adventures beyond our suffocating suburban bubble. My parents viewed my artistic tendencies as character flaws that needed correction through stricter discipline. Everything changed when I met Jake Morrison at a friend's birthday party. 19 years old, with dark hair that fell across his green eyes, he rode a motorcycle and worked at a local garage. He had dropped out of high school, but possessed a street-smart intelligence that fascinated me. Jake treated me like an adult, listened to my ideas without judgment, and made me feel alive in ways I had never experienced. My parents forbade me from seeing him the moment they learned about our relationship through neighborhood gossip. But I was 17, desperate for freedom and completely infatuated. For 3 months, I maintained an elaborate deception, telling my parents I was studying at the library or hanging out with approved girlfriends while secretly meeting Jake. That fatal night in March, Jake and I had driven to the lake outside town, talking until well past midnight about our dreams and plans. I felt so mature, so ready for adult life. When I finally crept through our front door at 1 in the morning, I found both parents waiting in the living room, their faces twisted with fury. The confrontation exploded immediately. My father stood up from his recliner, pointing an accusatory finger at me. "You have disrespected this family for the last time, Whitney. We know you were with that delinquent again." My mother crossed her arms, her voice dripping with disappointment. "We raised you better than this. That boy is trouble, and you are throwing away your future for some teenage infatuation." I tried defending both Jake and myself, explaining how they did not understand him, how they were being unfair and judgmental. But every word I spoke only fueled their anger. My father issued his ultimatum with the finality of a judge pronouncing sentence: "Break up with that boy immediately, or pack your bags and get out of this house." The rational part of my brain knew I should apologize, promise to end things with Jake, and retreat to my room. But 17 years of feeling controlled and misunderstood boiled over into defiant rage. "Fine," I shouted back. "I am almost 18 anyway. I do not need this." I never expected them to actually follow through. But within an hour, my mother was methodically folding my clothes into a single suitcase, while my father stood guard to ensure I only took what belonged to me. Marcus watched from the staircase, tears streaming down his face but too frightened to intervene. As I stood on our front porch with my meager possessions, my mother delivered her parting prediction with a satisfied smirk. "You will be back begging within a month, Whitney. The real world is going to eat you alive." My father slammed the door with such force that I felt the vibration through my bones. I stood there for several minutes, expecting them to open it again to tell me this was just a scare tactic. But the house remained dark and silent. With $47 in my wallet and nowhere else to go, I walked 3 miles to Jake's apartment complex, and spent the first night of my independence sleeping in his beat-up Honda Civic. Those first weeks taught me survival lessons no classroom ever could. Jake's family situation was even more chaotic than mine, with an alcoholic father and absent mother, so his cramped studio apartment could not accommodate another person. We spent nights driving around Houston, sleeping in his car at 24-hour gas stations and fast food parking lots, constantly moving to avoid security guards. After 2 weeks of this nomadic existence, Jake began showing his true character. The romantic rebel I had fallen for revealed himself as an immature teenager who panicked when faced with real responsibility. "This is too much pressure, Whitney," he confessed one night as we sat in a McDonald's parking lot. "I thought dating you would be fun, not like taking care of a homeless kid." He abandoned me the next morning, driving away while I was inside using the restroom. I found myself truly alone for the first time, standing in a McDonald's parking lot with my suitcase and $12 remaining. The next few months blurred together in a haze of minimum wage desperation. I convinced a manager at Denny's to hire me for the overnight shift by lying about my age and experience. The job paid $7.25 per hour, barely enough for rent on a corner of a shared bedroom in a rundown house with 3 other struggling women. My living situation was nightmare material. Maria, a single mother with 2 young children, worked double shifts at a grocery store. Angela dealt with addiction issues that made her unpredictable and sometimes dangerous. Carmen cleaned office buildings all night, leaving before I returned from my shift. We shared one bathroom, a kitchen with a broken refrigerator, and paper-thin walls that offered no privacy. Every night at Denny's, I served coffee to truckers, cleaned tables, and observed how the restaurant operated. Despite my exhaustion, I began noticing patterns in customer behavior, inventory management, and employee scheduling. During my breaks, I would sit in the back booth with a notebook, analyzing what made some shifts profitable while others struggled. When I was not working, I spent hours at the public library using their computers to research business concepts and marketing strategies. I taught myself basic accounting, studied successful entrepreneurs, and slowly developed a plan that went far beyond just surviving. My breakthrough came accidentally when I discovered a garage sale in an upscale neighborhood. With my last $20, I bought a vintage leather jacket and an old digital camera. After researching their value online, I realized I could sell them on eBay for triple what I paid. This revelation launched my first real business venture. I became Houston's youngest and most dedicated garage sale hunter. Every weekend, I would wake before dawn and drive to estate sales and garage sales in wealthy neighborhoods, looking for undervalued items that I could flip online. Vintage clothing, electronics, collectibles, antiques. I learned to recognize quality and spot opportunities that others missed. Within 6 months, my side hustle was generating $500 per month in profit. I moved out of the shared nightmare house and into my own studio apartment, small but clean and entirely mine. For the first time since leaving home, I felt a glimmer of hope about my future. During this period, I made 3 attempts to contact my family. Each phone call ended the same way: my mother hanging up immediately upon hearing my voice, or my father answering only to ask if I had learned my lesson yet. They wanted me to return broken and defeated, ready to submit completely to their authority. But I was growing stronger and more independent every day. The pain of their rejection still cut deep, but it also fueled my determination. Late at night in my tiny apartment, eating ramen noodles and planning my next business moves, I made a promise to myself I would prove them wrong about everything. Turning 18 marked the beginning of my real transformation. I completed my GED with scores high enough to earn academic scholarships for community college business classes. While maintaining my night shift at Denny's and continuing my resale business, I enrolled part-time in courses covering accounting, marketing, and entrepreneurship. My professors quickly recognized my unusual combination of street experience and academic potential. Unlike my classmates who studied business theory, I was already generating significant income through my garage sale flipping operation. By age 20, I had expanded from solo weekend hunting to partnering with local estate sale companies, gaining early access to high-value items before they reached the general public. The real breakthrough came when I discovered my specialty: vintage designer clothing and accessories. Houston's wealthy socialites regularly discarded authentic Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and Hermès pieces that I could acquire for dollars and resell for hundreds. I developed relationships with estate sale organizers, private collectors, and even some upscale consignment shops that became regular customers. At 21, I launched Second Chance Treasures, my first legitimate business with proper licensing and tax registration. I rented a small warehouse space and hired my first employee, Sarah, a single mother who needed flexible scheduling. Sarah had been living in her car with her daughter when I met her at a community college job fair. I offered her part-time work that allowed her to attend classes while earning enough to secure stable housing. My business philosophy centered around giving second chances to items that others discarded and to people that society had written off. Within a year, Second Chance Treasures was generating over $100,000 in annual revenue, and I had expanded into home staging services for real estate agents. The staging business exploded quickly because I understood something my competitors missed. People buy emotions, not just houses. I could walk into an empty property and envision exactly how to arrange furniture, lighting, and accessories to make potential buyers feel like they belonged there. Real estate agents began requesting my services exclusively, leading to contracts with several major Houston firms. By age 24, I employed 8 people and had launched Revive and Thrive, a full-service home makeover company targeting both residential and corporate clients. My team included interior designers, contractors, and project managers, all working together to transform spaces that had lost their appeal. The business press began taking notice when my company completed a $50,000 renovation for a Fortune 500 company's executive offices. Houston Business Journal featured me in their Entrepreneurs Under 30 spotlight, describing my journey from homeless teenager to successful business owner. During this period, my personal life remained carefully guarded. Dating felt impossible when I could not trust people's motives or overcome my fear of abandonment. I threw myself into work, often staying at the office until midnight and spending weekends visiting job sites. Success became my shield against the emotional wounds that still festered beneath my confident exterior. Marcus attempted to contact me several times through social media, but I could not bring myself to respond. The pain of my family's rejection had calcified into a protective barrier that I was not ready to lower, even for my innocent younger brother. 6 months ago, everything changed when Houston Business Journal published a feature article about my company's rapid growth. The piece included details about my background, specifically mentioning how I had built my business empire, despite being disowned by family at 17. The article circulated widely among Houston's business community, including among my parents' social circles. Within days of the article's publication, my phone began ringing with calls from my father. His first message was stilted and formal. "Whitney, this is your father. We need to talk. Please call me back." When I did not respond, the calls became more frequent and desperate. Soon my mother joined the campaign, leaving voicemails that started with demands for conversation and gradually shifted to barely disguised pleas for reconciliation. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned the truth about my family's current situation. My father's engineering firm had downsized significantly during the economic recession, forcing him into early retirement with minimal savings. My mother had developed serious health issues requiring expensive medical treatments not fully covered by insurance. Marcus was struggling through college with no financial support, working multiple part-time jobs while trying to maintain his grades. Most shocking of all, they were facing foreclosure on the family home where I had spent my childhood. The same house from which they had expelled me 9 years earlier was about to slip from their grasp due to financial pressures they could not overcome. As their situation became more desperate, their phone calls intensified. Some days my phone would show 15 or 20 missed calls, accompanied by increasingly emotional voicemails. They had gone from predicting my failure to begging for help from the daughter they had thrown away. The irony was not lost on me. My mother's prediction that I would return begging within a month had proven spectacularly wrong. Instead, 9 years later, they were the ones begging while I held all the power. The decision to finally answer their calls required weeks of internal struggle and consultation with Dr. Angela, my therapist. After years of avoiding therapy, I had finally acknowledged that my success, while satisfying, had not healed the deep wounds of abandonment and rejection. Dr. Angela helped me understand that holding on to anger was poisoning my ability to form meaningful relationships and find genuine happiness. When I finally agreed to meet with my parents, I chose a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop downtown, where I felt comfortable and in control. I arrived early, positioning myself at a corner table where I could observe their entrance and maintain easy access to the exit if emotions became overwhelming. They appeared older than their years, walking slowly and tentatively as they scanned the cafe for my face. My father's shoulders sagged with defeat, his once proud posture diminished by financial stress and failing health. My mother looked fragile in a way that shocked me, her carefully maintained appearance replaced by obvious worry lines and gray roots showing through her thinning hair. Their apology was genuine and comprehensive. They acknowledged every mistake, admitted their rigid thinking had been wrong, and took full responsibility for the pain they had caused. My father's voice cracked as he described watching me walk away that night, realizing too late that they had destroyed their relationship with their firstborn daughter over petty pride and fear. My mother wept as she confessed how many nights she had lain awake wondering if I was safe-fed or sleeping somewhere warm. She admitted that her cruel parting words had haunted her for 9 years, representing the worst moment of her life as a mother. But I was not ready to simply forgive and forget. I explained how their abandonment had shaped every aspect of my adult life, from my inability to trust people to my workaholic tendencies that served as armor against emotional vulnerability. I detailed the nights I had slept in cars, the meals I had skipped to save money, and the crushing loneliness of facing major life milestones without family support. I became successful, not because of you, but despite you, I told them firmly. You taught me that I could only rely on myself, and that lesson has served me well. But it also cost me the ability to believe in unconditional love. After listening to their pleas for forgiveness and financial assistance, I outlined my terms for any future relationship. I would help with my mother's medical expenses because I could not stand by and watch her suffer regardless of our history. I would provide business consultation to help my father develop a new income stream appropriate for his skills and age. Most importantly, I would pay for Marcus's college education because he bore no responsibility for their mistakes and deserved the opportunities I had been forced to create for myself. However, rebuilding our relationship would require time, respect, and recognition of my autonomy as an adult. There would be no return to their authoritarian parenting style, no attempts to control my personal decisions, and no assumption that financial assistance meant I was returning to my childhood role in their family structure. My business success had taught me that second chances must be earned through consistent actions, not just words. I was willing to give them that opportunity, but only if they demonstrated genuine change in how they viewed and treated me. Over the following months, I began incorporating the lessons of my personal journey into my business philosophy. I expanded my hiring practices to include young adults, aging out of foster care teenagers who had experienced homelessness, and anyone else who needed a genuine second chance at building a stable life. My company's mission statement evolved to reflect my belief that success should create opportunities for others, not just personal wealth. Every person I hired who reminded me of my 17-year-old self became an investment in breaking the cycle of abandonment and desperation that had nearly destroyed me. Gradually, my relationship with Marcus began to heal. Now 24 and mature enough to understand the complexity of our family dynamics, He expressed genuine remorse for his inability to support me during those terrible years. We started with careful text messages, progressed to phone calls, and eventually began meeting for dinner once a month. My parents required more time and patience. They attended family therapy sessions with Dr. Angela, working to understand how their parenting style had damaged both their children in different ways. Progress came slowly, measured in small gestures of respect for my boundaries and gradual acknowledgement of my achievements. The greatest healing came when I realized that my success was not about revenge or proving them wrong. It was about becoming the person I was meant to be, regardless of their expectations or limitations. True strength lay not in holding grudges, but in choosing compassion despite past hurts. My phone still rings regularly with calls from my parents, but now I answer them. Our conversations remain careful and sometimes strained, but they represent hope for healing rather than desperate pleas for rescue. We are building something new, not trying to resurrect what was broken years ago. The most important lesson I learned was that forgiveness does not require forgetting or excusing harmful behavior. It means choosing to release the poison of resentment that was damaging my own heart. Family is not just what you are born into, but what you consciously choose to build and maintain through love, respect, and mutual support. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all, but becoming so genuinely happy and successful that the past cannot touch you anymore. When I look at my thriving business, my growing relationships, and my hard-won peace of mind, I know that 17-year-old girl standing on that doorstep with one suitcase would be proud of who she became. Have you ever been rejected by people who were supposed to love you unconditionally? How did you find the strength to rebuild your life after such devastating abandonment? Share your story in the comments below, because your experience might inspire someone else who feels hopeless right now. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of your own journey, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming impossible odds. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that their current struggles do not define their future potential. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the greatest success comes from the deepest failures. I wish you the courage to create your own second chances and the wisdom to know that you are stronger than any situation that tries to break you.